What's up, beer seekers? Crew from BeerSighted here, and we are back with our first episode of season 2 of Industry Insiders. And we are kicking things off on a high note tonight. We are chatting with Josh and Mac of Great Marsh Brewing Company out of Essex, Massachusetts. Guys, thank you for taking the time to join us tonight.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
So we want to know a little bit about you guys, how you got your start in the brewing industry, and a little bit more about Great Marsh itself.
You want to go first?
So for myself, I pretty much got into craft beer when I was about 18 years old. So about 10 years ago, I started off working for another local brewery. I worked at a Cape Brewing Company for about almost 10 years. Did many different things along the way. But kind of towards the latter end, I was probably 3 or 4 years into, kind of their head sales position. Along that way, I got my marketing degree. I was home brewing for quite some time. It just kind of all came together. And, fortunately, I was able to kind of, make my way into Essex and, find my way here at the Great Marsh. And John Collins, the owner, he was able to kind of take me under his wing, and I guess the rest is history so far.
Well, I was just going to ask a little bit more about the history behind Great Marsh. When did you guys get started at there? When was it founded? Stuff like that too.
Okay. So the Great Marsh was actually opened in November of 2019. The place basically I believe broke ground in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. I'm a little,
I think that's right,
blurry on the history right now, but for sure, I think it was, 2017 as far as when we broke ground. It's been quite the trip so far.
And Max, for you, how did you get your start?
So I was a biology major in college, and part of my BS program, I needed an internship that was related to biology. So I had one lined up for like the better part of a year, mapping beaver dams or something, and it ended up falling through a week before I was set to start. So I went to my academic advisor and I was like, I need something. And she's like, well, there's a brewery across town that needs an intern, and that would qualify since you're dealing with yeast and living organisms and a whole bunch of biological pathways. So I was like, why not? Let's try it. And I knew probably after my 4th day, I was like, this is what I want to do. So I graduated. I started working at Boston Beer Works, now defunct.
Yeah.
And then from there, I went to Newburyport Brewing Company, and I left Newburyport in February of 2019 to go to Chicago and then later Munich to complete a master brewing course. So through the Stiebel Institute in Chicago, and they call it the World Beer Academy. It's been basically 2 months in Chicago and then better part of the next 4 or 5 months in Munich, learning from German brewmasters and using their equipment. So I got back from that August 19, and Great Marsh was set to open in a couple months. So I shot him an email, and took about 6 months of back and forth, but I joined in March of 20. So.
That's pretty amazing. And we hear some funny stories about how people got into the industry, but I have to say from beaver dams to beer is one of the more unique ones we've heard.
That sounds like a slogan that needs to go somewhere.
Yeah. Beaver dams to beer. We'll have to work that into a new brew.
Yeah. I love that. Not many people can say that 4 days into a job after graduating, they know they want to do that and stick with it for.
Yeah. I didn't even think of it as a career. I drank the beer. I never really thought about how it was made or who was producing the stuff. But awesome industry. I'm sure you guys know it's filled with some of the best people. So glad to be part of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so to dive right into the beer, one thing that seems to stand out with you guys relative to a lot of craft breweries is the spectrum of beers that you guys cover. I mean, I got some the other day at Vin and Liquors here in Salem, Mass. I have an American Pale Ale, Belgian Triple, a Munich Helles, like that. I don't even have an IPA. Like that's the variety you guys offer, but obviously you have some New England IPAs on there. And I'm not sure if you guys know, but was this part of the plan, like from the start, was to offer such a variety? And are there challenges to it as well? I know there's different brewing schedules and just like different techniques that you use across the board. Just curious about how it all, came to be that you have such a variety to offer.
Yeah, so a lot of these styles, our owner founder John had kind of worked through in his basement, doing his built an unbelievable homebrew setup, and he's fascinated with German equipment and the way they brew beer. So he really started from he's an engineer, so he loves to get into the nitty gritty. So he started with water chemistry. So basically, a little story behind all of our different offerings is that we send all of our water through essentially 4 stages of filtration as it enters the building, and then the final stage being a reverse osmosis and UV light sanitation system. So basically, all the water that comes into our system that we brew with is less than 30 parts per million of anything. And so that doesn't make for good water to brew with, but we do is we add back salts to mimic different regions' water profiles. So the Munich Helles, for example, is it's brewed on Munich's own water system, or water profile.
Oh, wow.
So like the Triple is Westmalle, Belgium's water profile. The Wit is Hogarden. So he was a big fan of those styles, and coming from my background, just completing a master brewing course over there, where I got privileged enough to travel to Belgium and Netherlands and all over Germany, trying different beer styles. So it's kind of a perfect marriage there, where we both, really like the continental styles, the lagers, and of course we're in New England, so we have to have New England IPAs. So we do have a couple of those. Actually, have two new ones dropping this week. So
Nice, good timing. Does that make?
Sorry,
go ahead.
so I was just about to say we'll touch on it in a second, but and I'm sure you've seen our cans. I'm sure some of you guys have also seen our cans as well. But if you take a close look, which I will show you guys in a second, it says the water profile. Our cans actually. Oh, he already has one.
I got
He's
3.
already on top of it. So if you notice the background of those cans, it's a topographical map of the water profile of that region.
Oh.
Not many people really might be able to pick up on that, but that is actually what the can design is based upon.
That is
That's
super
really
cool.
cool.
And that was actually what I wanted to ask you guys about the mapping on the can art. It's definitely unique. You don't see it anywhere else, but that is such a cool little tidbit. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like to get a little technical around here. We kind of like to get a little educational and kind of make people think a little bit. So I think but I mean, at the end of the day, it's definitely about the water, but we love the beer, we love the history, we love everything about beer. We are all about the beer.
I think that's really cool. So does having to do these different water profiles in order to properly make the different types of beer you have, does that make for like a really complex setup in the brewery? Or that just sounds like a lot.
yeah, no, it does. We have a lot of processes the water goes through. So like the first step is it's filtered through a sand filter to pick up any debris that might be in there, and then it goes through a 2-stage carbon filtration to remove any chlorine or chloramide or anything the city's added to it, and then it goes to reverse osmosis and then UV sanitation. So that's all on a restricted waterway. So the town wouldn't provide us with a 3-inch water main. So we essentially had to convert one of our bright tanks into a water storage tank.
Oh my God.
So that throws a wrench into things. We're only working with one bright tank, but the difference between us and most breweries around here, most people you'll talk to, is we also have a Carosis inline carbonation system. So it's another piece of German engineering, and with that we can essentially dose down to the 100th of a gram per liter of CO2 into our beer. So what that allows us to do is, instead of the traditional method of transferring from a fermenter either through a filter, centrifuge, or just straight into a bright tank, and then carbonating it over a period of 12, 24, 48 hours. By the time it hits our bright tank, it's already carbonated down to that 100th of a gram per liter. So we can package it right away. So it's really more a holding tank right before we package it. But so that allows us a couple of things. It allows us to keep our dissolved oxygen down and package fairly quickly. So we're not tying up tanks with beer that's just sitting around. It's once it's done and we're moving it to packaging, it could go from the fermenter to package in about like 3 hours.
That's absolutely incredible. And that actually kind of brings me to another like talking point I wanted to bring up with you guys, was the space itself. And Mac, you kind of mentioned it, that there's just so much to it and a lot of the intricacy behind it that, for anyone who's been to Great Marsh, I have several times, I've been a bunch. I love going up there, and I love the whole setup itself. And so for anyone who's been there, you go upstairs into the restaurant. There's the tap room downstairs, and then you've got the restaurant up. And when you walk upstairs, you notice that you've got that massive brew house that is right in the center, and the whole like catwalk bar around upstairs. You can look right down into the center. And so I wanted to ask you guys about the space itself, because it is, at least on appearance, a super new building. And you've got so much of that space downstairs, and I wanted to just kind of get your thoughts and just in general, I wanted to know more about like the space that you guys are in, especially the fact that it's on a massive marsh and it's beautiful outside. So
you can't deny it. The whole space is beautiful. It really is it's quite literally a dream come true, and I'm sure Mac can kind of feel same way.
This is now my fifth brewery, and I've seen nothing like this before. Like all of our basically the whole brewery was built from the ground up, designed by John, and then all the tanks, fermenters, the whole brew house, everything was built by Braucon over in Germany, assembled there, and then shipped over here. It was quite the project, but it is one of the nicest breweries inside and out that I've ever been to. So
I can definitely attest to that.
Yeah. And one of the things Brandon just mentioned is the restaurant as well. I'd say a lot of breweries are starting to try and incorporate food more and more, but I'd say Great Marsh has one of the most sophisticated menus I've seen. How did that come about? How did you guys really decide to make this legitimate restaurant attached to the brewery?
So the way it works here is we have our brewery, our tap room, and the beer garden outside. So I don't know if you guys have been recently, but we just renovated the lot next door.
Right,
so
yeah.
Fire pits, tents, and all that. So all that area is property of the brewery itself. So what we did upon opening, really while building this restaurant the brewery itself was we paired with Weber Restaurant Group. So they own several restaurants around Massachusetts, Gibbet Hill, Bancroft, new double tap room. And so they operate upstairs. So they bring their restaurant expertise and their menu. And so we let them, they handle all the food upstairs. We do pizzas and pretzels, and we're, traditional brewery beer garden food downstairs. And it really is a nice blend. They can focus on what they're good at. We focus on what we're good at, and the customer, who's the most important, gets to benefit both. So
Yeah, that's amazing.
But I mean, I think right now too, it's like, we still kind of have, we're not quite towards the end of the summer. I feel like everybody has that mentality where it's like, oh, it's August. And now like we're kind of, winding down, but we're not quite there yet. But we do, like Matt touched on it, like our beer garden really is amazing. And it's only in phase 1. I don't know how many phases that we're going to be kind of, going into over the years, but as far as I know, there's going to be a phase 2. But phase 1 is kind of like we install, pavers outside. He mentioned that we have, propane and fire pits out there. And then recently, just kind of added a couple of cornhole boards and some, some disc toss. There's just a few other things out there that kind of, we're always hosting private events. So, anybody that, that really is looking for something to do around Essex, I mean, there really isn't much of a better spot than coming over to the Great Marsh and having a beer and then just kind of hanging out. It's really quite the space. And one of the best views as far as breweries are concerned.
Yeah.
There's not many views like it.
Yeah. But it's if you can imagine, you're sitting on pavers, Adirondack chairs next to fire pits overlooking like the Great Salt Marsh. It's a beautiful sight. It's a great spot to have a beer garden. We're really lucky that we have that space available.
Yeah, and overlooking like the Great Marsh, I feel like that's super unique too. Like people think of like a good view as like mountains or somewhere in the forest or something like that. But I think it's cool that you guys have the marsh to lean on out there. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it makes taking Instagram pictures a lot easier.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, easy social media promotion. So another question for you guys. So for those who are unaware that are listening, Essex is in the North Shore of Massachusetts. Obviously, there's all sorts of great little towns up here, and there's also a lot of breweries these days. I mean, Brandon and I, we live in Salem, and there's multiple in Salem. There's 4 or 5 in Beverly. It's just like, and these are it's all fairly close. Essex is a little drive from here, but how do you guys collaborate with any of the local breweries? Or I know so many breweries are working together these days, and like we've talked about before, it's really cool how the whole brewing industry works together more than they are competition. I think that's one of the best parts about it. But so I guess 2-part question. One, are you guys, collaborating in any way with other breweries or just working with other breweries in any ways? And 2, does the fact that there's so many make things challenging for you guys?
I think right now, we're pretty much kind of treating this. We're pretty much treating this year as almost our first year of operation, to be completely honest with you. For obvious reasons, with the pandemic and the kind of winding. I don't want to say winding down, but with vaccines rolling out and all that, we were able to kind of have a full-fledged first summer, and we were able to kind of operate a little more normally. So I can't say we're not against doing collaborations at all. We want to collaborate as much as possible. We have collaborated with a few other local businesses, but we definitely are more than willing to collaborate with other breweries. Like, it's all about community within the brewing industry, and hopefully in the near future you might see some Great Marsh collaborations with a few other local breweries.
So we're definitely open to it. Definitely have had conversations with people. But as Josh mentioned, it's the first real summer. So we've been trying to get our get set, get our feet under us in terms of production and what our demand actually looks like, not in a global pandemic. So we've had conversations with several people, but it just wasn't the right time for them or for us. So, we're definitely looking forward to doing more of that as we kind of enter a period of relative normalcy. There's amazing brewers and amazing breweries around here. Beverly has 4 brand new ones as of like a year, 2 years ago. So we'd love to work with them. Definitely stay tuned. That's coming for sure.
Well, so along those lines too, what does Great Marsh have coming up in the next couple months? I mean, obviously the beer garden is now open. As we start to transition a little bit into the next phase of the year, what's next for Great Marsh? Is there anything big planned that you guys have coming up? And then anything that, really looking forward to?
Yeah. So we haven't actually released anything online yet, but so this will be, I guess,
exclusive first look.
First breaking news. You guys are breaking this as we speak.
Yeah.
So about a month and a half ago, I brewed our first Oktoberfest beer. So that'll be lagering until the end of September. And we're gonna break that out with the Oktoberfest celebration here. So we're targeting the 25th of September. But so I'm definitely ordering my lederhosen soon, and I'll be here stein in hand. But that we're gonna release some more details on that in the next coming days. But should be a great time. We have the combined resources of brewery, the restaurant, and the giant beer garden space outside that is stunning. So that's definitely something that we're really looking forward to. Been wanting to do that for a while. So.
Yeah. Well, I already put in my calendar, so I'm excited.
There you go. Beautiful.
Now, the last question I always like to ask, and I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, but if you had to pick one, what is your favorite beer you guys make?
So that is a tough question.
I know.
It's a loaded question for sure.
So
Yeah.
for me, it definitely changes almost like day to day, depending on, we have so many different styles that it's like each style has its own point in time and reason to be consumed. So I'll cheat a little bit. I'll give you 2.
That's fair.
So we have a Trappist single that we released about a month ago. So we take our house triple yeast and our Abbey Ale yeast, and we kind of pitch that into more of like a Pilsner style beer. So a little more hop forward, same North German like Pilsner brewing techniques, and what you get is a really dry, really drinkable 5% beer, but it has that yeast characteristic that you find in the triple. So after a hot, sweaty day, that's my go-to. But
That's fair.
I'm also the one I'm drinking right now is our Munich Dunkles. So it's our traditional Bavarian dark lager. It's a favorite style of mine for years now. I fell in love with it when I was over there, and finally got an opportunity about 2 months ago to rip it on the big system, and it's awesome.
Very cool.
In the words of in the words of Tom Brady, the next one.
That's good. I'll
Nice.
accept it.
No, but in all seriousness, Mac brewed a really badass Dunkel, and I just finished it. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to go for the next one.
Nice.
Yeah,
I love it.
it's,
I love
it's
it.
so funny too. We've literally asked that question every time we've done this, just because it like totally puts you guys on the spot. Like
Yeah.
nobody's ever just said, "Oh, easily this one." Like
Right.
it's either like a list or like Mac throws out a couple. It's so funny how it goes, but it's it's your pride and joy. These beers.
I mean,
Yeah, there's a time and a place for everything. I'm a little parched. I don't necessarily want a 8.5 double IPA, but so time and a place for all beers.
Yeah.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm currently drinking the Helles, and it is. I think that just may have moved up to my top from Great Marsh. So, but
I will say right now that the Helles for quite some time was always my go-to, but up until that Dunkless was released, that's all I've been drinking, honestly.
Nice.
So I mean, it's a great beer. He's been clamoring to have this beer made, basically since before he even started working here, and then we finally got it made.
I've been working on this recipe basically ever since I had my first sip over in Munich, and the last brewery I was at, we didn't get a chance to make it. So as we were rolling midsummer, rolling into fall, I was like, we're doing this. We need this beer. So it's turned out really well. And I'll give a shout out to Stone Path Malting in Wareham, Mass. They get us all of our malt. It's on draft down there. The Helles and the Dunkles those guys are awesome. World-class malt. So shout out to
Awesome.
Stone Path.
well, I love it, guys. Definitely looking forward to our next trip up there. We will, like Nick said, we're gonna be up there for Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
So, but definitely before then too. So looking forward to it, guys. Before we get you out of here, just tell everyone where they can find information on Great Marsh Brewing and check you guys out online.
I mean, you could always hit our Instagram, Great Marsh Brewing. At Great Marsh Brewing, that's probably one of the best spots to kind of find all the latest and greatest on what we're doing right now. Gives a little more of a visual, but I believe the website is thegreatmarsh.com, I believe.
Yep, thegreatmarsh.com. You can see all of our up-to-date beers. There's also a Toast Go page, so you can order deliveries, pickups, whatever you want. And I think we don't have one right now for our beer, but we're going to launch a kind of like a daily updated map page, so you can see where around Massachusetts our beer is being sold and
Very cool.
where to go get some. So, but I mean, we have all of our offerings here all the time. So, best place to get our beer is right here.
Damn right.
There it is. That is the perfect way to phrase it. Yep. Head on up to Great Marsh if you get the chance. It is a fantastic spot. You definitely won't regret it. The beer is phenomenal. Josh, Mac, thank you guys so much for taking the time again to join us tonight and chat. Check them out at Great Marsh Brewing on Instagram and thegreatmarsh.com. Find our stuff at BeerSighted.com. We are on Instagram at BeerSightedPod. And check us out on Facebook, BeerSighted Media. Guys, again, thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers,
Thanks for
boys.
having us, guys.
Thanks.